So, herzlich willkommen zu unserem Architekturgespräch, das heute in englischer Sprache stattfindet. Welcome to the Architekturgespräch today. The lecture will be in English from a fantastic man from Amsterdam, from Ignacio, from the office MVRDV. Und es freut uns, dass wir dieses Mal ein stabiles Netz haben und wie es ausschaut, kommen auch fleißig schon die Teilnehmer rein. Wir haben hier auch schon im Chat ein paar, die Hallo sagen. Hello auf Englisch. Hello everybody. Ich würde jetzt gar nicht mehr so lange rummachen und würde sagen, wir werden gleich mit Ignacio starten. Ganz kurz, nächste Woche wird es wieder ein Architekturgespräch geben mit Snowhatter, mit dem Patrick Lüth am 4. Juni. Das nächste, wir werden jetzt jede Woche ein Architekturgespräch machen. Wir haben auch das Glück, dass unsere Moderatorenfunktion perfekt funktioniert. Wir werden das Video aufnehmen, für die, die es vielleicht verpassen heute, dass Sie dich dann zum späteren Zeitpunkt einloggen können. Und ich wünsche euch jetzt eine schöne Mittagspause, wo immer ihr auch seid, oder eine wunderschöne Nachmittagsveranstaltung mit unserem lieben Kollegen aus Amsterdam. Und ich übergebe jetzt das Wort an Ignacio.
Danke, Fetzi. And thank you everyone for joining, especially for the ones that...
Was passiert jetzt? Hallo? Oh Gott. Nacho? Das lädt jetzt gerade. Oh Leute. Mit 20 im Chat.
Vielleicht hat Nacho kein Internet. Ruf ihn mal kurz an.
Was soll ich sagen?
Ob Internet bei ihm funktioniert. Willst du kurz vielleicht sagen, dass willst du dich wieder live schalten kurz?
Okay, ja, ich schalte mich kurz rein. Hallo, ich bin noch mal kurz reingeschaltet. Nacho hat gerade keine Internetverbindung, so lange werde ich einfach mal die Sache überbrücken und euch am Laufenden halten, was denn so alles gerade passiert. Wer keinen Ton hat, bitte einmal noch mal kurz Reload-Button drücken oben und dann noch mal einfach probieren. Und wenn beim Kollegen gerade der Ton nicht da ist, der hatte gerade eine schlechte Internetverbindung, also nicht erschrecken, es geht gleich weiter. Und wie ich sehe, locken sich jetzt auch noch fleißig weitere Leute ein. Und wir schauen, dass es einfach stabil wird. Und somit müsste auch der Ton bei euch jetzt auch kommen. Ganz kurz vielleicht zum Büro MVRDV, ein paar kurze Infos zum Büro selber. Wir haben gerade gehört, dass es auch Neuigkeiten gibt in Richtung neuen Standard vom Büro. Sie werden vermutlich dieses Jahr noch ein Büro in Berlin eröffnen. Das heißt, dann wird es auch eine Adresse in Deutschland geben für alle, die dann mal schauen, was sie in Deutschland anstellen möchten. Sie haben ein großes Projekt gerade in Berlin. Da wird Nacho auch dazu noch kurz was sagen und euch dann auch das ein oder andere Projekt vorstellen. Ansonsten kennt ja im MVRDV jeder, denke ich mal, aus vergangenen Projekten. Meine erste Berührung mit MVRDV war 2000 an der Expo in Hannover mit dem Länderpavillon für Holland, was sehr impulsant war. Danach hat es mich nach Holland verschlagen und ich musste mir dann ein bisschen die Architektur von MVRDV anschauen und seither gibt es einen intensiven Kontakt und Austausch mit dem Büro in Rotterdam, und die haben auch ganz tolle, schöne Räume. Nacho wird vielleicht nachher kurz was dazu zeigen, wie es dort ausschaut. Wir sind vor 3 Jahren umgezogen in die neue Räume und es ist dort alles schon wieder viel zu klein. Deshalb expandieren sie jetzt auch mit ihren Projekten in die einzelnen Länder hinaus. Es gibt ein großes Projekt in Frankreich und Er ist da, wir haben noch keinen Ton von ihm, den muss er noch anmachen. Und welcome back.
Sorry, I was in the phone. No, I wasn't the case.
Er musste kurz wahrscheinlich noch was essen oder trinken. Also, ich gehe jetzt mal wieder aus dem Bild und überlasse dir die Fläche, okay?
Okay, one more time. Let's see if the third time is the right one. I will put the presentation on, see if it's working this time. I don't know if you heard me before, but I was just thanking Fetzi for the nice introduction, and welcome all of you for the second time, for some of you, to this presentation. Let me start by introducing Vinny, Natalie, and Jacob to you. They are my bosses. As you see, the name of the office comes from the initial of their surnames, Mas van Rijs de Vries. This is obviously a very complicated name. So our PR department is looking for other options. This is the one they came up for the German market. Maybe it's easier to remember. Our motto is to create social, innovative, realistic, green, remarkable architecture for a changing world. Especially the last two words, I think they are relevant right now. Our scope of work is very broad, from interior to urbanism, developing new materials, and a big chunk of our work is dedicated to research and publications. From the beginning of the existence of the studio, there have been publications like Pharmax and KM3, and in the latest years, there is a strong collaboration with a think tank in the University of Delft called the Y Factory, which releases several books a year, mostly about the city and in a global scale, sustainability, which is a really good background knowledge since we work worldwide. As you see in this map, we have a project under every one of these blue dots. Obviously, we need a very multicultural staff to be able to work so globally. Right now, we have 250 colleagues. We are 250 colleagues between architects and support staff. We have offices in Rotterdam, which is the main office, Paris and Shanghai. And I have breaking news for you. We are opening an office in Berlin very shortly, so stay tuned to all our German friends and potential clients. Yeah, of course, right now, most of the staff is still working from home. We slowly, under a lot of security measures, we start some of us coming back to the office, but still the biggest chunk of the staff is working from home. We are, I think, most of us looking forward to come back to our main office. This is the image. It's a former, it's an industrial building from the 50s, from an architect called Hugh Maskant, which is really not known, but in Rotterdam is a hero. It's very interesting, so you can find out something about him. We have an open plan, but we use some of the mezzanine spaces for meeting rooms, very colorful ones. I am right now sitting on the orange one that is in the image, as you see. It's the favorite one because it makes you look more tan than what you actually are. But unfortunately for me today, it doesn't help with the Corona haircut. I am having right now, no time yet to go to the hairdresser. We like to do a lot of things together and exchange ideas, like having lunch in our 20 meters long table. Of course, all of this has to be rethink now in the short future. In fact, well, we did a capacity study on our office in Rotterdam, and we can achieve 45% of the current capacity. But it is especially painful for the lunch table because it seems only 7 people could join at the same time. So yeah, we have to find out something else for the lunch. So since most of you, I guess, will join from Germany, I put together some of the German projects from the office, starting from the very first one, which was a European competition in 1991, mixed-use building for a plot somewhere in Prenzlauer Berg, not realized. But the one that was realized 9 years after is the Dutch pavilion for the Expo 2000 in Hanover. That was the first project of the office in Germany. The concept was a series of stacked landscapes you can find in this country, the Netherlands. It was a very successful pavilion. I think it was chosen as the public's favorite. We also developed some private houses in Munich. The one to the left, the Barcode house, is actually one house, but made out of 6 different stripes. Or the stepped house to the right, which is somewhere around Stuttgart, for a structural engineer that had a lot of fun calculating this diagonal void for his own house. That was a really nice result. Last year, we delivered this mixed-use building in Munich, Berg 12, featuring a super nice swimming pool in the 3rd floor, overlooking the city. And what's next? Projects we are currently working on. Master planning in Kiel with some housing, offices, and a very crazy hotel tower, as you see there, with also a very outspoken facade, which is inspiring the comics, local comics. Another master plan, this time only for housing in Mannheim. A competition we recently won in Potsdam for a creative quartier. And finally, an office building in Esslingen called the Milestone, which features a very nice public space in the middle of the building, overlooking the landscape of the nice city. Okay, so now about the theme of the chat today. I'm not going to talk specifically about the consequences of this current tragedy we are living, but more in general about how MVRDV approaches the many social and environmental urgencies that we are facing way before this corona crisis. So how can we help into giving solutions? I think we should feel responsible as when I mean we are the building industry, because we are a big part of the problem. We need to feel the urge and the need to be active contributors to these to the solutions. What are we doing here in MVRDV? Well, first of all, something that the architects can do well is to help visualizing things. So one of the things Vinny Mas, one of our founding directors, together with Domus, did last year is to visualize all these global problems and urgencies through a series of issues. I think there were 12, showcasing the consequences of, for instance, the misuse of the natural resources. So how are we eating literally the crust of the earth, and what are the environmental consequences of this? Or urban crimes like the urbanization of the coast in some parts of the world, like here in Lagos, in Nigeria. and of course raising awareness of the housing crisis we are going to face, we are already facing in the world. So this is one part of what we could do to raise the awareness, help sorting all these problems. And how can we help with our designs, with our projects, or at least focus on these problems. What we are doing in the last years is to use these 17 Sustainable Development Goals developed by the UN. We use it as an assessment tool. Beyond the certificates of BREEAM and LED, etc., we like to view our projects through the lens of these goals to see how are they actually performing more in a broader scale. So what we always develop in every project is something like this. This is just an extract of a technical report of one of our latest projects, where we assessed which kind of goals are we achieving or perfectly achieving. That will be the left corner. Which kind of goals we partially achieve, and the most interesting column, which is the one to the right, which goals we can potentially achieve. And this is the starting point for a discussion with the client and with all the institutions involved in a project to make the impact of the project much bigger than what the brief is. And sometimes the client is seduced by some of the proposals and then they pursue them, and other times not. But yeah, at least it's important to propose. And what I'm going to do now is to show you one exemplary project that shows how this right corner, these achievable goals work in reality, in a realized project. The project in question is the Seoul Skygarden. It's a public space on a repurposed former highway in Seoul, the capital of South Korea. This is the image from 2015. I guess you can see my pointer. Yeah. So this is the viaduct where now we have the garden. It's around 1 kilometer, and it was overpassing the rail tracks of the central station in Seoul. This is a little bit the image. It was only 2 lanes. And in 2015, the state of this infrastructure was really bad, and the city government needs a huge investment into improving it. So, in the light of this huge investment, they said, well, maybe we can use all this amount of money to do something else, or is this the best way to use the money? Yeah, they have by far one of the highest death tolls of pedestrians run over by a car, and since also the air quality on the city, it was one of the worst, and very rising problem. So all these problems they come together, and basically it come together to a brave decision, a yes/no decision. That can be very well explained in this diagram. The black part is the viaduct, and the orange, it will be the new route for cars in case the viaduct disappear, which was one of the options, or was repurposed for pedestrians. So the detour is around 700 meters, but you have 2 traffic lights. So as you can imagine, there were a lot of simulations on how how much longer it would take for a car to do this detour, and it was around 5 minutes or 7 minutes, something like that. But for a pedestrian to walk from one part to the other of the city, it was around 14 times, 40 minutes less of time to walk through the viaduct or through the current pedestrian, or the former pedestrian route. So you have all the data, and in the end, it was a decision from the mayor of Seoul to go for the pedestrian option. And this is important to highlight. I mean, it was a very top-down decision, but this is the important decision. The project is there because, the mayor, with all the opposition of a lot of parties, decided to give it to the pedestrians, and that's why the project is there. The same way that the High Line is there because of the work of the Friends of the High Line, and not because of the design of field operations, etc. Also, the Sky Garden in Seoul is there mostly because of the mayor and not because of MVRDV. So that is important to say. Even though now I will show you how we try to extend the positive impact of the project to the whole city. Picture of the mayor, just for you. So what's the concept behind the project? This is the starting point. These are the 970 meters of infrastructure with 2 branches. So this is the base, let's say, public space where we need to do landscape project. But what we proposed, and I think that's why we won the competition, is that we wanted to extend this infrastructure to the adjacent streets. So we wanted to create more branches, this time for pedestrians, to activate all the streets around. That made sense. But we also wanted to link this infrastructure to buildings and to building roofs, because the infrastructure is around. I have to apologize, but I need to plug in the the battery. 1 second. Okay. Not very professional, but I deeply apologize for that. I hope not so many of you just leave the room. I was commenting that we not only link to the adjacent streets, but also to the buildings and building roofs. And finally, we create even more connections to traffic islands. So the result is kind of extending the landscape of the infrastructure to the whole area around the former highway, and change from this car-based highway to this kind of network of gardens, almost like urban nursery. One important aspect and the sustainability of this project is that we try to use the less material as possible for several reasons, also the economy. And to explain how sustainable is this construction, we like to comparing it with another similar project, the Highline, and to understand why do they look so different. The Highland, it was designed for trains, so it has a much bigger load capacity, and the column spans were much smaller, and you have like 3 lines of columns, while the Seoul Skygarden, it was designed for cars, so much less bearing capacity. It was much higher and with a much bigger spans. So the consequences to this is that when you want to design a green landscape or a garden on top, the capacity of the infrastructure without making a new structure, it was like to put in just 10 centimeters of soil everywhere. Like if it would be just a grass field, you could not grow any tree, etc. So our decision or our strategy was to, instead of making just a grass field and some canopies, we try to make trees, and for that we cover only a 10% of the area, but we were able to create 1 meter deep planters, so we could grow all these trees. So here you can see the difference in the section of 2 projects. While the Highline had more than 1 meter, for us we need to solve all the technology behind this project in 26 centimeters. And this includes all the water system, and I don't know if you could see in the detail, 1 meter of soil was enough for the tree to grow, but not enough for the tree to not fly away. So we have to design some anchors for the roots to the plot, so so we can guarantee the safety of the project. Another important aspect, or something that goes beyond let's say the brief, is that we want to increase the biodiversity in the city and also use it for education. The idea was not to put just a small collection of species, but to put every single autochthonous species, families, plants, trees, etc., that could be planted in a 1 meter pot soil. And we end up with a lot of them. You see, this is also like a plant library of Korean vegetable world. Another important feature is that we sort them alphabetically for educational reasons. You can see here is the Korean alphabet. So it is much easier to follow, let's say, for educational purposes, and to learn all these type of plants. I mean, imagine if you have to take your kids to school every day, crossing over this garden. I guess with the years you will end up knowing, that's really nice, all the plants that are autochthonous to your city, to your homeland. And that's, I think, is a very important feature of this project. Of course, not everything can be plants. We need to have also some fun, and the most used pot, this is the most used planter, is just a water planter in the end, for kids to put their feet, and also for adults, and jumping beds. Of course, it is almost 1 kilometer, so you need some facilities like a real library after the plant library, or a cafe with a rooftop that we strategically put on top of the existing column, so we could afford building these kind of structures. Have more details, always following the same grammar of the tree planters. Also, another key feature of the project that it wasn't in the original brief is that we wanted to have it open as many hours as possible, like a real public space. So for that, and to keep the safety, we designed together with our lighting consultants a really nice night lighting. So also in this time of the day, the people from the city is encouraged to walk through and to keep on learning the plants, though colors are more difficult to to appreciate with this night light. And the last part of the project is where more clearly you will see this third column that I was talking to you about, how the potential sustainable goals that can be achieved in this project. And these are proposals that come from us and from local NGOs and local communities around the project, and that we are currently working on. And some of them, it seems that they are going to be realized. So, and it's about how the building is connected and extending to the surroundings. Here you can see a very commercially successful bridge, which is connected to an existing hotel. I think the hotel has boosted the amount of bookings since this bridge was built. But it is important also to invest back into other kind of connections with areas around the project that are not so, let's say, commercially valuable. So these kind of escalators and the elevators are very important to keep and to foster and to even create more with the time. Also these pedestrian connections to small alleys on some mixed use areas that are around the project. So here you can see an overview of the potential projects or potential routes that we saw, starting from this garden to the rest of the city. There are like around 7 or 8 corridors, and one by one talking with different neighborhoods and with different neighbors around. We are making like micro projects, like for instance, simply changing the pavement, extending this language or these green pots through these corridors. We are trying to repurpose some spaces that now they are for parking, and trying to also involve companies, which is one of the 17 sustainable goals, partnerships for the sustainability, partnership for the future. How can we turn the DHL parking into the DHL garden, hopefully? Or existing structures like this Aduan bridge, turning them into a very nice extension of the project, and get a shortcut to the neighborhood a little bit uphill. Sometimes it's simply a change of a pavement in the neighborhood that makes it part of a bigger network, so to speak, and therefore increases the value and the urban regeneration of the area. So just to finalize, these are a series of steps on how the project starts from a very important step from car-based to a pedestrian garden. So that's the most important step. But how can we use this nice initiative and this nice design to make the impact of this project much bigger, from an just almost a neighborhood scale until almost a city scale, with steps all over. It will grow also in buildings and in density, and hopefully in 2035 could look like this. So thank you very much. I will look now at the questions I have in the chat. I think there are a lot of questions, so I don't know where to start. I will just take some randomly. So a question about the to save material you need good engineers. Indeed, this is just a choral effort of a lot of companies, not only structural, local architects, etc. So you can visit the MVRDV website, and there we have all the credit list with every single company and person that was involved in the success of the project. So, well, a lot of people like the project, so thank you for listening. So we have questions about the pixel that happens. Well, this is not a project I have some today, but yeah, we have a recurring, let's say, research into this kind of pixelated volumes and landscapes. Well, we found it is a very flexible way to approach some of the programs. It creates, for instance, in housing, a lot of exterior spaces. It gives a lot of flexibility to, let's say, open up programs, like open up towers and open up buildings from the interior to create a little bit more of these encounter spaces. This is a little bit in general one of the benefits of this approach. Lucas Reyer, what about the current condition of the original bridge? Was there a light renovation? Well, as I understood, the building has to go through a major renovation. So the issue is that the investment was going to be so big that they thought, well, maybe such a big amount of money, we could use it for something else that is not just an infrastructure. So maybe let's look. It was just so much money that they thought, okay, let's think out of the box. If we can make something else with this amount of money. So that was a little bit the start of the project. I guess if the viaduct would have been in a good state, then the project won't be there. It won't be repurposed. Thomas Ziegler, do you have an address for MVRDV in Berlin? Not yet, but very soon you will know. I mean, not yet publicly announced. So I think you should stay tuned in the coming weeks. Laura Antunes is asking if you accept interns. I guess so. I don't know. Just stay tuned. In our website, we have all the open positions. Just very up to date. Nico Rickert, no cycling in Seoul. Yeah, that's a good question. So for the moment, it's a pedestrian bridge. It is not so long. I guess you could cycle through it, but actually the use, it is so busy, and you need, and the, let's say, the width is not as big as to have a comfortable way to move around if you make a dedicated bike lane. But that's a really good question. Donia Parsmashe asking if you are planning something like this in other cities and countries. Well, we would love to work in project like this in other cities and countries. But as said, this is, we as designers, we jump, so we can propose, but we jump after there is either a top-down decision, like the one from the mayor of Seoul, or a bottom-up initiative we can support. And here in Rotterdam, we are actually supporting things in our area. You can check like mobility challenges. We're trying to make the people not to use the car for a while, so they have a free public transport for 1 month, I think it was. And then all the parking places, they were reused for small green pockets or a small playground, etc. So these are bottom-up initiatives that we are involved in right now. But something as big as this project in Seoul, I think it's nothing yet, but hopefully coming. So Chris Bosa is asking, how about the Sydney office? Well, I don't know. I think for the moment, Berlin is good. I think we've been involved in some competitions in Australia, and yeah, it would be great. We have really nice colleagues or ex-colleagues now there, Javier and Caroline. Maybe they are joining. I think I saw Caroline's name there. So greetings to her. Sven Tuckerberg is asking about the additional features, like using the plant for infrastructural items, multifunctionality. I'm not really sure I understand. So, well, I guess the utility of the plants are, I mean, it's just not to beautify, but we deliberately chose so many different species to increase the biodiversity in the city. So this has an impact in the kind of birds that can go there, and the kind of insects. So that's the utility beyond the having this nice landscape design, so to speak. Maybe that more or less answer your question, Sven. Some other questions. Thanks, Nacho. I need to go now. Thank you, Felix, for joining. And yeah, thank you all for the nice feedback.
Okay, ich sage auch nochmal allen Dankeschön für die Zeit. Nacho, dir ganz herzlichen Dank. Thank you all for the time that you invest in your daytime, and thank you very much to the office MVRDV to Rotterdam, and we will hope see next week next week on Tuesday, same time, with a new lecture with Thursday with Patrick Lüth von Snowhatter, und herzlichen Dank, Nacho, dir nochmal in German, da bin ich besser, und ich wünsche euch eine schöne Restwoche und eine gute Zeit, und bye bye, bis zum nächsten Mal, danke, ciao,
Danke. Bye.